I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's meeting. This is the 9th meeting of the Board of Directors during calendar year 2022. Our invocation will be led by Pastor Tony Hill, and I'll lead the pledge. Please all rise.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the servant leaders of our community. I ask a special blessing over each director and all of our city leaders. I pray for wise counsel and direction in their decisions and wisdom and discernment as they lead this city. Father, I also pray for all of our teachers and school administrators this week as we honor Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you for their commitment and sacrifice. Father, may we all be your light in this dark world. May we all be your hands and feet as we serve this wonderful community we live in. We thank you for our freedoms in this great country we all live in. Father, we give you all the honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How you doing? To get plates now. There she comes running.
We'll now call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Elaine Jones.
Here.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Carol Weatherford.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. Now, at this time, we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda as presented, or items to be removed from the consent agenda to new business?
Mayor, we do have one item. It's item number 7 under new business, a resolution authorizing support for the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts. City manager and I have been working on this matter. We really need a little more time to make sure that we get the correct information to the board in order for you to make an informed decision. I'd ask that it be removed from tonight's agenda.
Okay, so we need a motion to that effect to amend the agenda through the removal of item 7.
So moved.
Second. Director Trustee, seconded by, who made the second?
I did. Director Weatherford.
Director Weatherford. All in favor of removing item 7 from the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Items removed. Now we'll approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Director Garcia, Director Trustee. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved as amended. Recognition of guests. We have a couple guests here today. We have a group representing the Arkansas Learning Through the Arts, Young Audiences Arts for Learning Week. And Martha Smitherman leads that group along with a number of others. And they can step forward, and I guess we'll have you step a little bit off to the side, but come to the podium, and I'll read a resolution, and then we have a very special guest coming to represent the state of Arkansas to read a resolution. Oh. Proclamation, City of Hot Springs, at the podium. Whereas arts education, comprising a rich array of disciplines including dance, music, theater, media, arts, literature, design, and visual arts, is an essential element of a complete and well-rounded education for all students. And whereas arts education enables students to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills, imagination and creativity, and discipline, alternative ways to communicate, and understanding, which all support nationwide academic success as well as personal growth outside the classroom. And whereas to succeed in today's economy, students must masterfully use words, images, sounds, and movements to communicate. And whereas Arkansas Learning Through the Arts has the mission to improve student achievement by igniting their interest in learning. Arkansas Learning Through the Arts creates and provides high-quality arts programs 2 to 4 hours in length to Arkansas classrooms from pre-K to grade 12. The program has reached more than 35,000 students and 1,400 teachers since the organization was founded in Garland County in March of 2012. And whereas in 2015, Arkansas Learning Through the Arts became an affiliate of Young Audiences Arts for Learning, which presents approximately 39,288 arts and education programs annually to students and teachers. Young Audiences Arts for Learning encompasses 29 affiliates across the country, and the entire network of such affiliates is participating in the 2022 National Young Audiences Arts for Learning Week. And whereas we honor and recognize the contributions that Arkansas Learning Through the Arts and Young Audiences for Learning programs have made in enriching the lives of students, teachers, volunteers, families, and communities, and pay tribute to arts and education, its contribution to society. And now, therefore, I, Pat McKay, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the directors, do hereby proclaim May 2nd through the 5th, 2022, as Arkansas Learning Through the Arts Young Audiences Arts for Learning Week in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and encourage the people of Hot Springs to observe Arkansas Learning Through the Arts, National Young Audiences Arts for Learning Week, with appropriate ceremonies and activities that promote awareness of the role that art in education plays in enriching the education of young people and enriching United States society as a whole. It witness wherever I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be fixed on this 3rd day of May in the year of our Lord 2022. At this time, I'm going to call upon Representative Les Warren and Representative Richard McGrew to present a proclamation from the state of Arkansas.
Thank you, Mayor, City Board members. Pleasure to be with you tonight. Mayor, you touched on a few things that I've got here. If you'll allow me 4 more whereases.
Were you counting the whereases?
Okay. So it's a pleasure to present a citation tonight for the Arkansas Learning Through the Arts Young Audiences Arts for Learning Week. Whereas arts education comprises a rich array of disciplines including dance, music, theater, media arts, literature, design, and visual arts, and is an essential element of a complete and well-rounded education. And whereas arts education enables students to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills, provokes imagination and creativity, and strengthens discipline while it supports academic success and personal growth outside of the classroom. And whereas Young Audiences Arts for Learning presents more than 39,288 arts and education programs annually to students and teachers, and Arkansas Learning Through the Arts has reached over 35,000 students and 1,400 teachers since the organization was founded. And whereas the House of Representatives of the 93rd General Assembly of the state of Arkansas takes great pride in recognizing Arkansas Learning Through the Arts Young Audiences Arts for Learning Week for their many accomplishments and wishes them well. Now therefore, pursuant to the motion of Representative Les Warren, the Arkansas House of Representatives directs that this citation be presented this 2nd day of May 2022 to kick off the week that you're celebrating. It's signed by myself and the Honorable Matthew Shepard, Speaker of the House, and it is joined in by Representative McGrew as well. So thank you so much for what you do to enhance the learning of so many in our state. We appreciate you greatly, and thank you, Mayor and board members.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Representative Warren and Representative McGrew. Arkansas, or Young Audiences Arts for Learning started in 1952 and was basically an audience program. About 20 years ago, they figured out that the arts are critical and a significant catalyst for learning. And so I was familiar with a similar program in Texas. There are 28 affiliates here all over the state, all over the country. We are the only one in Arkansas that is doing something like this. What we do is present curriculum-based arts workshops in the classroom. It's designed for all students, not just the gifted. Everybody can learn better when they are ignited by some arts experience. And it doesn't really much matter whether it's poetry or dance or storytelling or songwriting. We have 10 professional teaching artists, all of whom are on the Arkansas Arts Council. And by our name, we intend to be statewide. I'm hopeful that's in my lifetime. In Garland County, we have been in every school district. We are in 8 counties, and I think it's 15 school districts now, largely in central Arkansas, but we have been in the Delta for the past 3 years. Yes, the pandemic was devastating because we couldn't get into the classrooms, but we turned to Zoom classes, and it worked pretty well except for dance. Nobody really wanted to do Zoom dancing. But I thank you all very much for this wonderful presentation and proclamation.
Very good. Thank you. We'll consider approval of the minutes at this time of the regularly scheduled meeting held on April 19, 2022. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes as presented?
That's a move, Mayor.
Got Director Jones, seconded by Director
Second.
Garcia. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. We have an additional recognition of guests, Mr. Todd Finn and Ms. Tedra Duck, representing the historic downtown farmers market. Are they here today? Thank you. Please come forward. Looking forward to your board report.
Thank you all for your time and having us. As part of our annual lease signing for the historic downtown farmers market with the property on Orange Street, we were told to put a presentation together about 3 minutes, so it'll be pretty short. But we'll start with 2020, because as of COVID for last year, we did not do a presentation. I believe that was canceled, to my knowledge. But the farmers market did survive through COVID with quite a few challenges, directing traffic, making sure we had hand sanitizing stations, masks. How can I forget masks? But we made it through there, and we're entering into 2022, but 2021 was also a successful year as well. We'll start with the breakdown of the markets. The Heart Springs Farmers and Artisans Market. We conducted 63 markets during the 2021 season. 27 of those were during the main season markets, May through October. 25 were winter markets, November through April. And 11 of those were Tuesday markets, June through August. A big thank you to our farmers. They are why we do what we do and volunteer. Most of the people on that list were there for the entire year of 2021. A few of them were only there one or two visits with us, but if they were part of the 2021 season, we kept them on the list. The farmers make up our people that not only grow plants and vegetables and fruits, but they also are the meat producers, pork, poultry. A thank you to our value-added vendors. Those are the vendors that produce baked goods, pies, cookies, anything along that lines. Also includes our one vendor that does coffee and other assorted coffee drinks. Lastly, but not least, were the artisans, woodworkers, pottery makers, actual artists that do painting and whatnot, jewelry makers. There's a long list of those as well. Entertainment for 2021 was a successful year too. The entertainment is done every Saturday from 9 to noon on those main season market days from May through October. Tedra has already got the list going for this year, and we have a full lineup for the 2022 season. Oops, I think I hit it twice. We are continuing to do SNAP at the market. That is the program that allows the community with EBT cards to process those at the market, then take those coins, go and spend them with the vendors. The vendors return those to us, and we reimburse the vendors. We are, with that EBT program, we also are proud to be a part of the Double Up Food Program, which matches every dollar spent on locally grown produce up to $20 each day per SNAP eligible customer. So if they bring $20 off their card, it's matched by the program with Jeremy Adams in Little Rock, which is part of the Arkansas Coalition for Obesity Prevention. In 2021, we had sales that totaled $3,576 from May to October. That's just off their EBT cards. We were able to match free to those individuals. Double Up Food Bucks distributed was $2,786 in those matching funds. The total of that was $6,362, which was a 45% increase in sales as compared to the 2019 and 2020 years. In 19 and 20, I looked back and we had about 4,100 in sales. So that's a huge jump in just a couple of years and from coming off of COVID. So we're proud of that service to the community as well. That program is also facilitated by the board members. We are the ones sitting behind the desk, making sure that it's accounted for, it's correct, and making sure that it all runs smoothly. WIC is another program that we offer at the market, but this is handled by the vendors directly with the WIC program. So we don't have as much as involvement in that process, but it's still just as important. The nitty-gritty is the profit and loss statement from 2021. In past years, we've had different income line items, bottle sales, membership dues, but the market has continued to grow and expand, and we've taken on some of those expenses internally. So basically, you just have our market space rentals fees, which totaled a little over 17,000. I can tell you in the years past, we were doing $13,000 and $14,000 a year. So we continue to see growth, and not only in vendor interest, but it's reflected in that number because it continues to add more revenue to the market itself. The expenses are pretty self-explanatory. I apologize, those were all in a line on my computer, but it's the accountant in me. Most of that additional revenue was spent on advertising. I know Meredith Finn, our president, last year spent a great deal more on Facebook boosting. We also spent more on the entertainment. Entertainers in the past years were probably being paid $150 per Saturday during main season. That was increased to $200, so we felt like we were also supporting our musician community through that increase as well. For a net income of a little over $1,400. So we also continue with our education outreach program. This is a little bit on the skimpy side, but it's because we're coming back from the COVID years and COVID impact. We still have Garland County Master Gardeners, which are always involved with the market quite readily. The Arkansas Coalition for Obesity, as I mentioned before. Our outreach includes the SNAP, Garland County Humane Society, and we work with Jackson House quite a bit as well. Hopefully that will continue to grow as we're getting out of COVID. I know I've already heard from Garland County Library. They would like to set up a community table. I'm not quite sure what they want to distribute or encourage, but we welcome them regardless. The The board that made all that happen in 2021 consisted of Meredith Finn, president. Debbie Golden was the secretary. I was still on board was previously on board as treasurer. Chad Oswalski was the market manager and director, and Deborah Decker was director. I am the only one left of those 5. So they each termed out. They can serve 2 terms for a total of 4 years. Meredith termed out last November. Debbie moved to Little Rock, too much of a drive, which is totally understandable. Chad hit his 4th term this last month, April, and Deborah termed out in February. So that left us in a little bit of a crisis mode. And we recognized this was going to happen probably last June and started to look for additional board members. And we did have some luck. There was 2 or 3 people that came on board. Some have part-time students and whatnot that after they got involved, saw how much time it was going to take. It does take a little bit of effort to organize, keep up with it. The Saturdays, being there at 6 o'clock in the morning, not everyone's cup of tea. So we lost a few people there. And there were others that actually did sign up, but once they saw the workload, decided not to stick with it. So led us into a crisis mode. We need to give a big thank you to the city, and especially to Anthony Whittington and the Chamber of Commerce. They did an email blast, and I'm sure many things I don't even know about, but it was a search for new board members like I've never seen, and so appreciated, and turned out to be quite effective. I guess since January, we've had Tedra come on as the president, Melanie Martinez, Bonnie Fiedler, and Michelle Tetcher, I think is her last name. Tedra just started as president in February, March, so quite new. Many years in education. She's retired now. Used to directing and inspiring children and leading people forward. I have no doubt she's going to take the market in good directions. Melanie Martinez, who is also here. Melanie, you want to stand up? Melanie is the other director who was able to join us this evening. We're so lucky to have Melanie. Melanie's day job is advertising marketing director for the National Park College. So to have that on a board where we were desperately in need for someone to take that over has definitely been a blessing. So we feel like we are in a much more stable place. Tedra and I have one more individual, Zach El Sharif, who works for Bank OZK, and we're hoping to bring him on. So if we can have 13 board members. If anyone knows anyone, please pass it along. We are more than willing to have some additional help. So,
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the board? Thank you for your report.
thank you.
At this time, we'll hear from our city manager under the category City Manager's Report. Mr. Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. The City of Hot Springs has released a request for statement of qualifications for parking management services in our downtown business district. The city recognizes the importance of providing quality parking services to its businesses, employees, residents, and visitors, as well as for the ongoing and future economic development of our city. The goal of the solicitation is to develop an integrated parking management system to provide a seamless, efficient, customer-friendly, and cost-effective parking operation for the city in that downtown area. Additional objectives is developing an employee parking program and an approach to adding a parking structure sometime in the future, including providing recommendations for financing and location. The successful contractor will also assist city staff in drafting a request for proposal procurement solicitation for the actual parking equipment specifications. We know that we have a really unique downtown area where we have a parking structure, on-street parking, off-street parking, public and private. Some are metered, some are not. So all of that needs to be evaluated, and it may take different types of parking programs in different areas. So we're interested in seeing what comes out of that. This particular statement of qualifications or this parking management service will also be charged with meeting with stakeholders in the downtown area, those that own buildings, those that work in the buildings, and those that own businesses, as well as some of our visitors, or some of our residents. So looking forward to that. Lance has put a lot of work into getting this out over the last couple of months, and I appreciate that. Also want to congratulate the finance department this evening. They've earned for a 5th straight year, the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its 2022 budget publication from the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA. That's really a huge accomplishment. The City of Hot Springs was only one of 6 cities, municipalities in the state in 2021 to earn this Budget Presentation Award. So, Doretha, I want to commend you and all of your staff for the remarkable job that you've done to receive this award over the past 5 years.
Hallelujah.
Some of you may have noticed that we had our city annual cleanup over the April 23rd and 24th weekend as another huge success. There were 160 tons of debris collected and about 7 tons of scrap metal during that weekend. It was down quite a bit from prior years, but still a success. We think a lot of that is Garland County had also opened its transfer stations as well as their landfill for the weekend. So we appreciate that. I think it took a lot of pressure off some of our locations, especially in the west and the north. So we appreciate everyone's involvement in that. And again, it was a true success with 160 tons collected. Hope Works continues to collect litter along our airport roads, Central, Grand, Malvern Avenue, some of our state highways that run throughout the city. Hope Works, as you know, is a program that we contract through the Jackson House. And during that particular month of April, participants collected 129 bags of litter and about 1.85 tons. So that continues to be a success. We're glad to see that continuing throughout at least the state highways in the city. Want to thank the Urban Forester, Alan Bates, and Landscape Superintendent for Parks, Brian Fisher, and the rest of the Parks and Trails crew. They did a great job this past Friday for the city's Arbor Day out at Energy Park. They had their hands full. They had about 200 fifth graders from Fountain Lake, Jessieville, and Mountain Pine school districts. I was out there with them, and I can tell you that they probably needed 4 or 5 more adults, but they all had a good time. They rotated through 8 educational stations, and we had the tree spade out there. They were able to plant a large tree as well as the climbers that were going up and down the trees. That's always something that I think they're interested in seeing, and they were amazing the way they could scale those trees. Stop the Violent Scavenger Hunt. I was happy to join Minnie Lennox and Alicia from our Human Resources Department, as well as the Police Department that had a booth there. We all attend the Stop the Violence Coalition and the Unity Coalition, and the Stop the Violence Scavenger Hunt was really hosted by the Stop the Violence Committee, but it was the Jackie Ferguson Memorial Scavenger Hunt, something that Jackie was in the process of planning and organizing when she passed away. So we wanted to continue with that, and really had a great day. We had, I think, somewhere around 160 kids, I think they said. We had 4 bicycles, 5 Chromebooks, and skateboards, scooters, a lot of giveaways. So it was a great day to see all the kids down there learning a little bit about our city, about our county, about our community, and then being able to fill out their cards at each one of the stations and get put into a drawing. Also like to thank Monty Ledbetter, Todd Pillar, Gary Carnahan, Harold Maldwin, Cody Howe, and Chase Speedy Helton, and of course Sheila for all their work when we toured the utility locations last week. A lot of work went into that, and I think it was an enlightening experience for a lot of you. I've heard some comments back from you on just how complex our system is, both on the wastewater and the water side of the house. For those that weren't able to attend, we plan to try to get you out there as well, so you can see the improvements that have been made, because they're really astonishing, the things that have taken place under the leadership of the people I just mentioned. And then I'll say this: February tax revenues were up 25%. For the year, we're at 17.8% above prior year. don't get too excited. When I first saw that, I was really excited, and then I had Monty come in with a wet blanket and tell me that all the chemicals that we use at our water plant, we got a letter today, those went up 110%. So it's difficult to get the phosphates that we need, and I can tell you it's definitely a supply and demand, but you know, when you see those kind of increases, it more than doubles what you had budgeted, so we'll be working through that over the next few days. As well as we opened our bids for asphalt for our paving program. I think I may have mentioned last year that our cost for paving went up 15%. They went up another 40% this time. We had one bidder come in, and the cost per mile is $209,000. So you can just think about the fuel and the way things are going in the economy for fuel. That's going to drive some higher prices. We do still hope, and I still have faith that as we start receiving the revenues from the extended 5/8 cent tax, that once we get those $6 and $7 million bids out there, that maybe we'll be able to get another vendor in here to at least give us a competitive price. So with that, Mayor, I'll close.
Very good. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Oh, excuse me. We got board of announcements regarding upcoming events. In your board packet, you had upcoming board agenda and meeting dates. It is our responsibility to acknowledge these dates, both the agenda and the meeting dates, by myself, and so we're going to consider those acknowledged. And Director Elaine Jones will serve as assistant mayor from July of 2022 through December of 2022.
Mayor, you know what that means, don't you?
That means I can't miss a
That
meeting?
means you have to be in the hospital for me to be the mayor.
All right. Well, you would do a fine job. So she'll assume the role of assistant mayor from July 2022 through December of 2022. Do we have any board of director announcements of upcoming events? Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to invite everyone to the community meeting tomorrow at 4:30. Our city manager, Bill Burrow, will present the State of the City address at the Event Center in Forest Lakes, 305 Forest Lakes Boulevard. Refreshments will be served, and I hope if you haven't been out that way and you have time, please plan to attend this. And on the way, look at all of the new construction that is going on in that area and the growth of the city in that area. Also, Thursday is May 5th. So that's Cinco de Mayo Day, and there is a special group. There will be celebrations for Cinco de Mayo all over town, but a special group that is Ballet Quetzalil that will be performing at 5:30 during the celebration at Salsa's at 4324 Central Avenue. This is a group that teaches youth to be proud of who, what, and where they come from through traditional folklore dance. And this is a group that the Jorge Garcia Memorial helps sponsor, and it's quite an event if you have time to stop by there. They have celebrations from 4 to 10, but this group will be dancing at 5:30. Thank you.
Very good. Director Weatherford.
I've mentioned this a few times, but I just wanted to go over it once again, invite everyone to Hot Springs Airport for the 75th anniversary of the airport on Memorial Day weekend, where we'll be doing an event called Bombers and Barbecue. On Friday, the doors open at 4 o'clock. Music at 6 o'clock with Blaine Howard, and at 8 o'clock with the Molly Ringwalds. Saturday, doors open at 11 with a KCBS barbecue competition with expected 50 teams competing giving away $15,000 in prize money and some very unusual trophies that we're having made. Bag-O competition at 12 o'clock. Barbecue awards at 4 o'clock. And at 5:30, a day by midnight playing. 7:30, the Just Saying Band. And to finish the event off, the city's largest fireworks display ever at 9 o'clock. Also food trucks, aircraft displays, flyovers, kids zone with inflatables for the kids. Trolleys will run up and down Airport Road to get the people to the site. Bring your lawn chairs, enjoy the music and the fireworks. Memorial Day weekend.
What was the name of the band?
They're there.
Yeah, when will they
What
do
was
that?
the name of the band?
Which one?
Midday, midnight, or whatever?
A day by midnight.
Midday by
A
midnight.
day by midnight.
Do you have the official glassware from that band?
Do I need to? You have it? Evidently you have it, don't you?
Apparently I do, yes, so you may have to come out and wear them. Well, that'll be a fine event, and thank you for,
It's free to the public. Everybody come.
Well,
We're
getting your
not
shuttle
gonna park
buses
on the
is
airport property. It's gonna, you're gonna have to find someplace else. Shuttle in, and we're gonna.
Director Holliday.
I just want to remind everybody that going on this week is the Arts in the Park Festival. It's all over town. There's a street fair last weekend, but one thing to note coming up this weekend are studio tours where individual artists have their personal studios open to the public. You can go in and speak to them about what it is that they make, see where they work, and if you're so inclined, buy artwork from them. That's always the bonus. But for information, go to hotspringsarts.org or look up Arts in the Park with an ampersand on social media, and you'll find all of the details, and it runs through Saturday at about 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other announcements of upcoming events? Just a reminder that the mail carriers are having their annual food drive Saturday, May 14th. So for those of you who have a mailbox out on the street or at your doorsteps, you know, they're looking for canned food items that are non-perishable or at least have some shelf life. So please consider emptying your pantry or going to the store and buying some fresh cans and putting it out. It's been a tough couple years for families, and anything you put out would be appreciated. So May 14th, Saturday, May 14th. There being no further announcements of upcoming events, we'll move to the consent agenda. These are items of a routine nature that do not merit individual discussion. We take action on them as a whole. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Director Garcia made the
Second.
motion, seconded by Director Dobson, or Director Weatherford. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Item 7 was removed earlier, so we'll move to item 8, Resolution R22-75, and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-75, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 445 Silver Street in the city of Hot Springs a public nuisance and condemning such pursuant to Hot Springs Code, Section 17-1-1 at C. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Director Garcia, second by Director Weatherford. And staff report will be provided by Director of Planning, Kathy Selman.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is about 445 Silver Street, a vacant, single-family structure. Neighborhood Services has been attempting to attain compliance voluntarily with the owner since 2017. Damage to the house includes holes in the roof, cracked brick veneer, missing siding, soffit and fascia, broken windows and doors. There's interior water damage and rot that's been caused by the exterior damage and neglect. Property is owned by Barry and Paulette Hicks. All attempts to contact the owners and requests to have repairs made were unanswered. Partly because of a complex outcome to our title search, notices of condemnation were handled by the attorney ad litem. Notices included letters to the owner and newspaper ads. Also, a later notice to the mortgage company, to which we have had no response. The request is that you consider approving the resolution condemning the property, but because of the situation with the mortgage company, we would request that you table this item prior to your vote.
That's the recommendation, Mayor.
Okay, recommendations to table, so we have a motion and second to approve, so we need to have a motion to amend.
Motion to table.
Motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Or was there a no? All,
No.
okay, thank you.
It's fine.
Motion table is approved. This time we'll consider resolution R-22-76 and ask city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-76, a resolution declaring certain structure located at 209 Alcorn Street in the city of Hot Springs a public nuisance and condemning such pursuant to Hot Springs Code, section 17-1-1 at seek. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
So moved.
We got a second?
Second.
Director Weatherford, seconded by Director Trustee, and again, Kathy Salmon, Director of Planning and Development.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a vacant single-family structure. Neighborhood Services has had files on this house and attempt to work with the property owner dating back as far as 2012. At this time, the structure has damage, a pretty significant hole in the roof. Soffit and fascia are deteriorated and or missing, and the exterior walls are damaged as well. The property is owned by the late John and Barbara Dalrymple and their son Spencer Dalrymple. Notices of condemnation were handled by the attorney ad litem and included letters sent to the owners and newspaper ads. Notice was also sent to the probate court by the city attorney's office, and we are requesting that the board approve a resolution condemning 209 Alcorn.
Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. Are the property taxes paid up to date on this property, or has the state seized this for unpaid taxes? Or do you have that information? I couldn't
let's see.
find it.
If you could not find it in your packet, then we probably do not have it.
I may have overlooked it, but I was curious, since this has been going on since 2012, if the taxes had been paid.
I cannot tell you that at this time. I do have the limited title report here. I do not see anything to that effect.
Okay.
Do you have reason to believe that it is on the list?
No, I don't know. That's
Okay.
why I was asking, but if they are non-responsive, the son's non-responsive to this, and if there were unpaid taxes, I wondered for future use of this property for perhaps habitat or, to rebuild there
Right.
after it's cleared. And so I was just wanting to know, so to perhaps help that process.
Right. I do not have that answer.
Thank you.
Any further questions of Kathy? Is there anyone in the audience that want to speak on this item?
Anyone here to speak in opposition of the resolution declaring certain structure located at 209 Alcorn condemned? 209 Alcorn. There's none, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted.
Mayor, if I could clarify one thing on the previous item, which was agenda item number 8 that was tabled, your procedural rules state that unless there is a date specified, it is tabled until your next meeting. So it will be tabled until your next meeting.
Very good. Thank you. We'll consider Resolution R-22-77. I'd ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-77, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 631 Fifth Street in the City of Hot Springs a public nuisance and condemning such pursuant to Hot Springs Code Section 17-1-1 et seq. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Jones, seconded by
Second.
Director Weatherford. Again, Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development.
Thank you. 631 Fifth Street is a vacant single-family structure, and Neighborhood Services has been working with owners of this property since the year 2000 to attain compliance with city code. There is damage to exterior walls, soffit, and fascia, and there is interior damage to walls and floors following a fire several years ago. The property is owned by Fred and Jana Green. Both owners are deceased. Mr. Kenneth Hutchinson states that ownership was transferred to him prior to their deaths. He has made efforts in the past to maintain the property, but it remains in a state of neglect at this time. Because of the questionable ownership of the property, notices of condemnation were handled by the attorney ad litem. Notice was issued to the Greens at the known addresses and in care of Mr. Hutchinson as well. Necessary ads were also placed in the newspapers.
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Selman on this piece of property? Anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this item?
Anyone present to speak in opposition of a resolution condemning certain property, certain structure at 631 Fifth Street? 631 Fifth Street. There is none, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Now we'll consider Resolution R-22-78 and ask the City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-78, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 131 Airway Street in the City of Hot Springs a public nuisance and condemning such pursuant to Hot Springs Code Section 17-1-1 et seq. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by Director Weatherford. And again, Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development.
Thank you. 131 Airway is a vacant single-family structures. Neighborhood Services has been working with the ownership on this structure since 2018 to achieve compliance with minimum city codes. Damage to the house includes holes in the roof, missing siding, soffit and fascia, broken windows and doors. The interior of the structure has been stripped of wall coverings and most of the electrical and plumbing fixtures. The property is owned by the Pamela Key Estate. Due to the complexity of the title and ownership, notice of condemnation was handled by the attorney ad litem. Notices were issued to the estate and heirs, and also notice was provided via newspaper ad. And for a change, we seem to have had a response to those notices. Shannon Kelly is here tonight and has presented multiple quitclaim deeds that may clear up the ownership complexities. And we have her commitment to obtain permits and work to bring the house into compliance. We would, however, still request approval of the resolution, but we have spoken with Ms. Kelly, and she seems very serious about moving forward with repairs to the structure in hopes of having it habitable for a family member.
Very good. Any
Thank you.
questions of Ms. Selman? Hearing none, did we have someone in the audience that want to come and speak on this item? Please come forward and state your name, address, and district, please.
Hi, my name's Shannon Kelly, and my mom passed away, and that's her house. I been working with the Drug Addict Brothers on that place, and I fixed it up, and I had pictures and proof that I did the things that were required before. And I was unable to get financial help to get a loan to, you know, do the right thing and get it back to normal because of my brother's names being on the property. So now today, of all days, I finally got to get that documentation. I just haven't had a chance to file, which tomorrow's a new day. I was going to file tomorrow and start the process on getting it all back into a livable dwelling. If you just give me consider a second chance on this so I don't lose this property because it means a lot.
Ms.
Thank
Kelly,
you.
yeah, Ms. Kelly, as we spoke just before the board meeting, I indicated to you that it would be at least 30 days before any action would take place with respect to the demolition.
Okay.
But the board will continue to consider their process this evening of deeming it condemned, but you'll have at least those 30 days in which to get your permit and begin your rehab of that structure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mike Scott, our chief building inspector, is a great individual to work with on this, and he'll work with you and keep an eye on it, make sure progress is being made, but you'll get your 30 days plus demonstration of pulling permits and making good on rehabbing the structure.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Mhm.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wanted to come and speak on this item? Any further discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Dobbs-Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. We'll consider Resolution R-22-79 and ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-79, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 718 Ward Street in City of Hot Springs a public nuisance and condemning such pursuant to Hot Springs Code, Section 17-1-1 at seek. That concludes your reading, Mayor, if you would. Entertain a motion second to adopt and get it on the floor.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Weatherford, seconded by Director Trustee.
Mayor, similar to your item number 8, this property also is subject to a mortgage. We were intending over the last week to be able to get clarification as to whether or not that mortgage had been satisfied and or released. We've not been able to do that, so I ask that you also table this item like you did item number 8 until your next business meeting.
Very good. Do I have a motion to table?
Second.
Director Jones, seconded by Director Garcia. Is there any discussion on the motion to table? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs-Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Motion to table is approved. Now we'll consider ordinance O-22-15, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules and read by title only, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-22-15, an ordinance amending the zoning map for 3 parcels in the 400 block of Leewood Street from R2 suburban residential to M1 industrial, amending the future land use plan map from residential low to industrial, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia. Director Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development.
Thank you. The City of Hot Springs is the applicant, and the request is to change the zoning map to M1 for properties located at approximately 421 Leawood Street. It's in Board of Directors District Number 2, and the narrative talks about the city's desire to construct a new stormwater facility on the subject property should it be rezoned. It's approximately 1.2 acres, currently vacant. Adjacent properties are zoned M1, light manufacturing district to the west and south, C2, general business district to the east, and R2, suburban residential to the north. The request for M1 zoning is consistent with adjacent properties to the east and south, also under the city's ownership. Hot Springs Code 16257 for M1 light manufacturing zone district states in part, the district is for clean, quiet industries on ample landscape sites with plenty of room for parking and plant expansion. The applicant submitted a one-page narrative in support, which contains 2 of the required findings for a zone change. Number 1, the surrounding uses are a city facility, undeveloped lots, and residential properties currently surrounded on 3 sides by city-owned property. And number 2, currently there is M1 zoning to the west and south, C3 east, R2 north, and therefore, in light of the need for the stormwater facility, there is a public need to rezone these properties. Planning Commission duly advertised their agenda and call for testimony at their regularly scheduled April 14, 2022 meeting. Only the applicant presented testimony, and Planning Commission voted 8-0 to accept the staff report findings and recommendation that the board adopt an ordinance amending the official zoning map to designate the subject parcels in the 400 block of Leawood Street M1 light industrial, and to amend the future land use plan map designation to industrial because the requirements of Hot Springs Code Section 16 to 11E are met.
Any questions of Ms. Selman?
Given the identity of the applicant, surely someone has questions.
Well, was that testimony convincing that the applicant?
Wholly
presented?
convincing,
Okay,
yes.
great.
Very good. Did we have anybody signed up to speak on this?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Now we'll consider ordinance 022-16, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by,
Second.
who made that second?
She did.
Director
Holiday.
Holliday. So now they're covering their mouths up and uttering a sound, really a challenge here tonight.
It was a
Yeah.
tie.
Oh, well. So we got a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, sign, same sign. Motion is approved. Read by title.
Ordinance O-22-16, an ordinance amending the zoning map for Lot 8 of Block 2 of the Murray and O'Brien subdivision located at the corner of Liberty and Federal Streets from R4 medium-high density residential to C2 general business district, amending the future land use plan map to commercial enclave and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Dobbs Smith, seconded by Director Trustee. And now we're back to Ms. Selman.
Thank you. The applicant is Cindy Wagstaff, representing property owner Habitat for Humanity. This is a request to change zoning from R4 to C2 General Business District. The property is located at the west side of Federal and Liberty Streets intersection. It's currently undeveloped with an unimproved driveway. The property fronts Federal Street and is immediately south and adjacent to applicant Habitat for Humanity's Restore and administrative campus. Residential homes are located to the west and south. Liberty Street right-of-way is directly to the east across Federal Street. Surrounding zoning, south is R4, medium-high density residential. East, the Liberty Street right-of-way. West, R4, medium-high density residential. And to the north, Habitat owns the properties, and they are zoned C2 general business. The applicant's narrative, dated February 1st, provides a justification for favorable consideration and states, Lot 8, vacant, abuts C2 developed land currently used by Garland County Habitat for Humanity, Restore, and Administration. If rezoned to C2, Lot 8 would support continued redevelopment of the Habitat site to provide additional office, enclosed storage, and parking space. And she notes that it does meet the Hot Springs Code standard, public need for land so zoned. Excuse me. The C2 General Business District, according to Hot Springs Code 16252, states that the businesses of a C2 district are found on the fringe of the central business district along major streets and arteries. The subject Lot 8 exists as the southernmost portion of a parcel of Grand Avenue facing commercial development, which is the fringe of the central business district. The application adequately addresses certain findings of fact required by Hot Springs Code 16211E. Habitat's recent and planned development demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning, and does in fact demonstrate a need for land so zoned. Redevelopment will require a landscape buffer and screen between this lot and a single-family residence to the south, and also one to the west. That buffer will mitigate potential negative impacts the zoning change might have on nearby residentially developed properties. The future land use plan map designation for the requested zone change should be commercial enclave to signal that further commercial conversion into nearby residential neighborhoods is undesirable. The Planning Commission, again, advertised their agenda, called for testimony at their regularly scheduled April 14th meeting. The applicant and one neighbor testified. The neighbor was opposed, stating that the commercial designation of this lot would be a negative for the continued health of the neighborhood. Planning Commission's vote was 6-0 and 2. Two planning commissioners recused for conflict of interest. They were Commissioners Erickson and Jeanette. So their recommendation to the board is for approval of the ordinance and amending the future land use plan map to commercial enclave because the requirements for zone change are met.
Does that conclude your report?
It certainly does.
Thank you. I just didn't want to cut you off. You were on a roll.
Nope, I'm on a roll.
So, any questions of Director Garcia, please?
Thank you, Mayor. On the property that's north of there, the Habitat for Humanity already owns that property, 39197, or that's on the map
Habitat for Humanity owns the land that's directly north, yes.
of this
All the way from that lot
to Grand.
up to Grand Avenue.
And so this property is proposed to be used for parking.
It's proposed to be used for administrative offices, possibly some indoor storage, and for employee parking, yes.
Okay, so it's a quiet
Yes,
business.
yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions of Director Selman? Thank you. Did we have anybody from the audience that want to speak on this? Ms. Wagstaff, please come forward and state your name, address, and district, please.
Cindy Wagstaff with Garland County Habitat for Humanity. We are the applicant. Address, did you say?
That's fine.
240 Hobson? Okay. Yes, Ms. Garcia said, pretty much asked the question that I was going to answer. So, yeah, this particular portion is the only portion in this entire property that was zoned residential. Everything else was zoned commercial. Our intention is to continue to develop the commercial property that is fronting Grand Avenue. And this portion would be primarily for staff parking. It's a small staff. We expect, and this is the lowest traffic part that Habitat has, so we expect the impact on the neighborhood to be at a minimum.
Director Garcia?
When do you anticipate your administration office moving to this location?
Last December. I would say about a year.
But your current location has residential neighborhoods around and behind it.
Yes.
Doesn't
Yes,
it?
our current location fronts, I'm not exactly sure what the zoning is, but it's primarily, it was residential years ago and it's transitioned into commercial. So it does front Hobson, and everything behind us is residential.
And have there been any problems?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Any further questions of Ms. Wagstaff? Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak on this issue? Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobb Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Our final action item of this evening is to consider ordinance O-22-17. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia. And once again, for the 8th time this evening.
Is that all?
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to read by title only. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion is approved. Please read by title.
Mayor, this is ordinance O-22-17, an ordinance amending the zoning map for the southern portion of a split-zoned land at approximately the 1440 East Grand Avenue from R4 medium-high density residential to C4 regional commercial open display district, amending the future land use plan map designation to linear commercial corridor and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Weatherford, second by Director Garcia. Now, my comments on Ms. Selman, 8th item
Yes,
to this evening. You ought to be on piecework. You might-
that would be good.
Might have got paid more tonight. So we look forward to your staff report. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The applicant on this item is Mr. Tim Winston, representing property owner Kevin Hale. He is requesting C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District zoning for approximately 15 acres of land at 1440 East Grand Avenue. It is zoned, it's split zoned. Part of it is zoned R4, medium-high density residential, and the other part is zoned C4. Regional Commercial Open Display District. It has future land use classification of linear commercial corridor and residential medium high, and it's located in Board of Directors District Number 1. The applicant states our plans are to build an RV park on all 15 acres. The parcel has approximately 700 feet of frontage on East Grand and approximately 260 feet on Chaucer Street. It is split zoned. The surrounding property zoning is north, C4, Regional Commercial Open Display, east, C4, Regional Commercial Open Display, and R4, Medium High Density Residential. To the south, M1, Light Manufacturing, and to the west, C4, Regional Commercial Open Display, and R4, Medium High Density Residential. The applicant submitted a one-page narrative in support, which contained 2 findings. Number 1 stated that the R4 areas of the property join M1 and R4. And number 2, the topography of this property has lots of steep grades and woods. We intend to develop it if rezoned to all C4. Nice RV parking pads with hiking trails, and the applicant suggests that it will connect to Gulf of Gorge Park and North Mountain Trail system. As you know, if rezoned to C4, the full range of C4 uses would be possible, and the applicant's idea at this point is not binding upon him or you, should you decide to approve this. Planning Commission considered the findings of the staff report, which include that a future land use map designation of linear commercial corridor would give the subject a consistent future land use classification and consistent with the majority of the surrounding C4 zoned properties, and also that the applicant, with regard to the zoning, has successfully demonstrated that the standards for favorable consideration have been met. The recommendation to Planning Commission was that the Board of Directors adopt an ordinance to amend the zoning map, changing to C4, because of their finding that the change is compatible with surrounding development and zoning, and that the change is consistent with the objectives of the zoning code. And again, this is a split zone parcel. This would make the zoning consistent across that. Planning Commission duly advertised and called for testimony at their April 14th meeting. Only the applicant testified, and Planning Commission voted 8-0 to recommend that the board approve the ordinance. And that is it.
Any questions, Ms. Selman? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I had 2 questions. This was just for the zoning change. Any plans that would require the permit, they will come back before anything is done regarding to be approved, right?
They will have to obtain permits, and depending upon the scope of the RV development, they may be required to go to Planning Commission for approval under Article 2 of the subdivision code.
As you said, this has steep grades in the woods, so my concerns were around the stormwater runoff for this development and the duration of excavation of this.
Yeah.
Will that be addressed with the in the next phase?
They will be subject to the stormwater requirements. Depending on what level of additional approval is required, they may be required to have a Planning Commission approval for the site. That was a question that was asked by planning commissioners as well regarding stormwater. And Mr. Winston proudly reported that he has been the Contractor of the Month for Stormwater's award on 3 or 4 different occasions. He is well experienced in grading and so forth.
But once this is approved, that doesn't mean that's what they're going to do, or he's the one that's going to be the developer.
No.
There's no guarantee.
No, there
for
is no
that.
guarantee.
But the planning commission will still have another go at it.
If there are
for,
structures,
permits.
if there are structures to be included in this RB development, yes, they will.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you. Anybody from the audience that signed up? No? Discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Now we're into board commentary for items for discussion. Any board member have an item for discussion?
I'd just like to welcome Mr. Beards here tonight, my friend and the board of directors' friend.
Welcome.
Mayor, if it's all right with you, if he's got anything to say, can I get him up here for a second?
That'd be fine.
Come on, Mr. Beard, the mayor says it's okay.
Thank you, Director Jones, for this opportunity to have something to say. I keep it brief, under 60 seconds. But for the effort of the part of the City of Hot Springs Police Department, the city manager, in their efforts to make Juneteenth what it should and ought to be by the President of the United States, I appreciate your effort and your attitude and all of the work that you have put forth. And I'd like to have the opportunity to do as I had told my 2 late wives, is just help to disagree with those that you're in love with and members of your family. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beard.
Director have items for discussion. Just today, many of us were in attendance as Mr. Don Monroe was laid to rest, 94 years of age and 94 years of service. Obviously, as a young man, he was being groomed to take leadership responsibilities, which he did throughout his life, his adult life, and his fingerprints are felt in many different areas within this community. He'll be sorely missed. His service celebration of life was at Garber Woodland Gardens at the Anthony Chapel today, and was very well attended, and we certainly are going to miss him and his leadership. So, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no further business, we'll, yes? Well, I think you're coming up under the next section, so thank you. Director Jones?
Mayor, if there is no further business at 7:17, I move that we adjourn this meeting for tonight.
We have a motion to
Second.
adjourn, seconded by Director Garcia. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. We'll take a moment for